Hey everyone, sorry I'm running a few minutes behind here. Let's see here. All right, let me get my screen share going. So we're doing functional progressions, regressions. So I'm going to take you through a functional circuits for aging clients presentation here today. And we'll look at, I think, 4 different levels of workouts. So you guys already know who I am. Cody, my co-founder and business partner. Just a little bit of review here. Remember, in the US, we're seeing an explosion in this population. And so one of the reasons why we think you've got to be able to take exercises up and down, literally on the fly, is you're going to have a wide range of diversity, right? I mean, some of your 58-year-old clients are going to be old, and some of your 78-year-old clients are not going to be old. And so we have to be prepared for this wide span of, I might be training people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they could be all over the functional spectrum. And it's not based on age, though for some it might be, but for others it might be like, wow, you're 80 and we can do anything and everything. You don't have limitations or restrictions. So, and that's only going to grow. And I think we're only going to see even more diversity in that as well. And so this kind of sets up this next slide, like, why do we have to do all these different functional circuits and exercises and regressions and progressions and have, well, the opportunity is large and growing, and the number of mature adults coming to us is going to range widely in age, functional ability, exercise history. We might have a 70-year-old who's been exercising for 40 years. And we might have a 55-year-old who's never exercised a day in their life, right? Or they're like, well, I played some intramural sports in college, right? And you're like, college, when was that? 1987, right? I mean, it's been a while. So wide range and a huge growing audience. The program diversity is going to have to be all over the place, right? One 65-year-old wants to keep downhill skiing. The next 65-year-old just wants to be able to keep walking and playing with their grandkids. And so the program diversity on that's going to have to really be variable. It's very efficient. We can be very efficient setting up functional circuits and functional movements. And really, I think we can give people a huge bang for their buck in 20 minutes. I personally like the group dynamic. I think COVID has limited that to some degree. But I think there's so much power in a group training format. So everything I'm going to teach you today is designed with that in mind. Of course, you can do it all one-on-one, but the group format is just, it's fun, it's interactive, it's social, it's getting that social engagement and socialization, which we know, people need. They just absolutely need it. I think we've seen that more than ever in the last 6 to 8 months. So just a quick review on the functional aging training model. Everything that we're going to do this afternoon, we got to be thinking about through the lens of lifestyle and activity or disease pathology leading to some impairment that leads to a functional limitation that leads to a disability. Reviewing all of our impairment factors. We want to try to be training as many different ones as we possibly can. Fully well knowing we may not hit them all in one training session. That's not necessarily the goal, but we want to be thinking about how do we impact these over a training cycle of a week or 2 weeks. So our visual representation of that. Obviously, we can go deeper into all of these areas. Sorry if I'm drinking a lot. I literally have been going from meeting to meeting to meeting. I have not gotten a drink in a while. So we have a huge range, a huge range. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we could have a 55-year-old who's already in the older age category, which you really shouldn't be until your 60s. But we could have a 75-year-old who's just beginning to feel like they're in the older age category. There's this wide range of function in individuals. And we have to be prepared for that. It's not anything to be, admitting Kathy here, not anything to be nervous about, just something we need to be aware of and cognizant of and prepared for, that we're going to have this wide range of function. And some people they're literally coming to you because they know they're on the cusp of disability and they don't want to cross that threshold and they want to fight their way back to the blue line or stay above that disability. The hierarchy of functional fitness, functional aging. Basically, we want to think about what do we have to do to stay in the top 4, right? How do we stay higher independent or higher for the rest of our lives? And so we always want to be thinking about, if I'm training a client who's lower independent, how can we be pushing them towards higher independent? If they're higher independent, how can we be training them to move to the highest level of higher independent, maybe even into semi-fit, right? At the very least, maintaining that for as long in life as possible. All right, so you guys are already in the course. I don't need to sell you on the functional aging specialist. You should know the 7 principles by now. You're going to see most of the exercises we're going to talk about, progression and regression. Most of them are going to be standing, but of course, a regression for many exercises is to move to a seated or modified stance position, right? If it has to be kneeling or seated or holding on to something, that's an easy regression and progression. And of course, progressions are always changing and making the stance harder, right? If we move from seated to standing, in most cases, the exercise gets harder, okay? We always want to think about this concept. Sometimes we make the mistake as trainers, we're like, oh, well, this client said they want to go on a 100-mile bike tour. Yeah, but they're not going to do a 100-mile bike tour every week, every day for the rest of their lives, right? Like, what do they have to do 365 days a year, 24/7 to function? And so there's sort of a generalized approach to training we need to think about for all people. I mean, all of us humans, for the most part, need to be able to stay upright. We need to be able to walk. We need to be able to pick stuff up. We got to be able to get dressed. We got to be able to bathe ourselves. There's activities of daily living we have to be able to do. And so that's sort of a generalized approach. Everybody needs strength. Everybody needs balance. Everybody needs some neuromuscular work, okay? It's not, oh, this person's a golfer, so they get a special program that's only for golfers. It's like, well, do other people need to have rotational power and need to be able to rotate? Do golfers need to be able to pick stuff up from the floor? I mean, golfers don't just live on the golf course, right? So sometimes we make that mistake of, well, I'm only training them for golf. Well, what about for the rest of their life, right? All of the other things they have to do. So generalized, we're thinking about, if I had to train 20, 25, 30 people, what are the core things I'm going to hit? Prioritized Now we can start to weight some things. Okay, so Ann, you said you're a golfer. So what are a couple things we can sprinkle in that hit the golf game, right? So we can weight a few things focused on that, right? We might have a group that's all women. We might have a group that's all 75 plus. We might have a group that's all knee replacements, right? So we can prioritize and make it more appropriate for that unique group. And then specialized tends to be where we're getting into more one-on-one training or a small group that is very, very similar, right? So this is my small group that's purely focused on balance because everybody in here is a faller, right? Or it's my small group that's all golfers, or it's my small group that's all water skiers, or it's one-on-one clients, right? And it's totally specialized to exactly what they need. Okay, so there's kind of different levels here. Now, I'm not going to tell you that one of these is better than the other, right? Some trainers, this is where some one-on-one trainers get up on their high horse, right? They're like, well, this is why one-on-one is the best because it's the most specialized. Well, but at some point we have to realize not everybody can afford to pay for a one-on-one trainer. I mean, one-on-one trainers can cost $500, $600, $700 a month, maybe even $1,000 a month in some markets. Not everybody can afford that. And I know I spend a lot of time talking about how affluent and how much more money boomers and seniors have. They don't all have $1,000 a month to spend on fitness and training. And even some of the ones that do have it won't part with it, right? Because they're like, well, heck, $1,000 a month, that's 12 grand. I'm going to Europe. Screw the training, right? Now we're competing with the Galapagos Islands and Antarctica and Alaska and all these other things because our program's so expensive. So you can't just say, well, specialized is the best, because I think generalized is really good. And I think group has a lot of, tremendous advantages as well. So, there's a perfect match for the client. It's not that one is better than the other. So let's not get hung up on specialized is the absolute best, one-on-one is the best. What if somebody really needs the group dynamic? What if they really need to be with friends? What if they really need to have camaraderie? How do you do that in one-on-one training? I think it's really hard to do. Now, you can have a great relationship with them as a one-on-one trainer, but you can't replace a group dynamic of 6 or 8 people laughing and telling stories and sharing stuff. So they all have their place. Keep the purpose functional, match the movements to clients' abilities. Doesn't do any good. I just met with 2 prospective new clients, and they're at different levels. They're a husband and wife, and I even talked a little bit about that. He's much more fit than her, and I said, that's not a problem. We start with you where you're at, and we match where you start to your ability. We're not going to ask you to do somebody else's workout that you can't do. We're also not going to throw you into the deep end of the pool and watch you drown. Oh, wow, that didn't work out so well. We have to start with where the client's abilities are and think about where we want to get them a month from now, 2 months from now. We have to address a broad mix of functional domains. Don't get hyper focused on, well, they told me they're a faller. Well, that doesn't mean you have to do 30 minutes of just balance. You still have to hit the other functional domains. And of course, be safe with everything you do. So we got to be smart about it. So I'm going to take you through 4 different levels, and you'll see kind of how we progress things. And then we'll talk about how we could regress things. And the interesting thing is we're always doing this because somebody might be a level 1 exerciser, and pretty quickly we're like, yeah, they can move up to level 2, and they can move up to level 2 on about 75% of it. And then we're like, another 25% is they're still level 1. So we got to move back. And we're always kind of doing this, adjusting a little bit harder, a little bit easier. Level 3, this is really our experienced exerciser. These are people who have some exercise knowledge, some background. If you say the word squat, they probably know what that means. If you say the word lunge, they've heard of that. They know what a push-up is. Doesn't mean they know how to do it right, but they've heard the term before, right? The level 1 person, they don't know a squat from a jumping jack, and we shouldn't assume that they do. In fact, we should assume they don't know any of the exercise moves, and we're going to have to teach them from scratch. And then level 4, these are our fit, experienced exercisers. In fact, most of the time, these are people that are as fit as us or more. So, right, like, wow, they really know what they're doing. And they want to take, this is almost, we're like, do they really need a trainer? Well, yeah, they need a trainer because they want to be the best, right? They want to take their fitness to the next level, and they want someone, a professional, helping them stay fit and stay fit for as long as possible. And they're probably a little concerned about getting injured. So they're willing to pay to have a pro, right? So I think of level 4 as sort of your pro exerciser, right? This is that person who's like, well, I'm going to hire a coach because I want to be the best experienced exerciser there's ever been, right? I want to be the best 70-year-old gym member there's ever been. And these clients are super fun to work with because typically they'll do anything we ask them. They want to be next level. They're already next level, right? They're at the top of the heap. So you'll see when we get to level 4, that workout should challenge all of us. So let's look at level 1. Remember, just show you this one more time. Level 1 is that frail to lower independent. So remember that hierarchy of functional aging? Frail to lower independent. I mean, I'm not going to expect these people to come in and just knock out a 30-minute workout like, whoa, they just blew that away. No. I'm hoping they can make it through a 30-minute workout. And I'm planning to help them make it through a 30-minute workout. So when we look at that, notice I put 3 gaps in here. These are what I call sort of recovery gaps. And I put in some easy exercises. So we start out with chair stands, maybe power stands if they're on that lower independent. Probably 10 to 12 reps. Tandem walk. That's that heel toe walk. And we might do that for 30 seconds. We might do it for 1 to 2 minutes. You can kind of decide. Standing 2-arm chest press. Pretty simple, right? We're not doing any complicated stance. We're just doing 2-arm and a simple stance, standing. Single leg stand, eyes open. I put that on there because, you know, as we progress, we may get to eyes closed, but not with level 1. Now we have a gap in here. They might need to take a seat for a minute. They might need to get a drink. They might even need to go to the restroom. And I've planned that, right? They're going to need a rest break. We're going to do 4 things and then try to take a rest. Keep in mind, after the chair stands, power stands, pretty good chance they might need to take a rest. So anywhere along the way, we might have to rest after some of the harder exercises. Standing 2-arm row. Wide walk. So they're just walking wide. So we did a tandem walk earlier. Now we're doing a wide walk. Step ups, alternating legs. So they're just going, you know, so we could do step ups all right leg, but we're doing step ups, alternating legs. Ankle sways, not very intense. So we finished this little segment with a fairly easy exercise, and then we're going to give them a break again. Might be, again, a chance where they're like, oh, could I sit down for just a minute or 2? Right? Again, this is that frail, they might come in with their cane or their walker. This is that frail to lower independent client. Side step with a reach, not a side lunge, not a side step up, just step into the side and reach into the side. 3-dot drill. So we're going to put 3 agility dots on the floor, like a, you know, like a red dot, green dot, blue dot, and just play some 3-dot stepping drills. That could be 1 minute, could be 3 minutes, depending on how much stepping, weight shifting we want to work on. Figure 8, just walking a figure 8 on the floor. Calf raise, they could do that just on the floor. We might need to give them a chair or a bar to hold on to. If we used a step, we definitely probably want them holding on to either us or a chair. Now, we're going to take a little break and then we're going to get down on the floor 1 time. We're only getting down on the floor once because we're only getting back up from the floor once. They will probably protest a little bit, but that's okay. So we're going to let them know, hey, we're only getting down on the floor 1 time. We're going to do some bridges, probably anywhere from 5 to 8 bridges, and we're going to hold those for about 10 to 15 seconds. Bird dogs, we're not doing opposite arm, opposite leg. That's not a level 1 client. So bird dogs arms only, bird dogs legs only. All right, now I want you to notice We go from level 1, this is that low function, frail to lower independent, to level 2, there's a pretty big jump. Now this is that lower to higher independent, right? We're not into the fit category yet. That's going to be level 3, but you're going to notice this is much harder than what the frail individual is doing. Well, I mean, a lower independent to a higher independent person is certainly much higher functionally than a frail to low independent. Okay, so split squat, stepping over the sleeping dog front and back, push up. That push up pretty likely is not going to be on the floor, or if it is on the floor, it's on their knees, but pretty likely that's going to be on a bench or a wall. Monster walk. Feel free to if I throw up an exercise on here and you have no idea what it is, type in the chat. Like, what's a monster walk? Just like it sounds. It's, you know, stick your arms up, walk like Frankenstein's monster. There's really no right or wrong on the monster walk, honestly. Little break there. Now these breaks will probably be a little bit shorter, probably won't have to be seated, but some people might need to take a break, but they definitely need to have a chance to get some water and catch their breath. Then we're going to do a standing reciprocating row. So the stance is still fairly simple, but now we've made the arms more complex. And we could do 2 sets here if we wanted of, you know, 10 to 15 reps. Sleeping dog now side to side. So we're stepping over that object or sleeping dog right and left. We did it front and back in the first round. Then we're just going to reverse and do a standing reciprocating chest press. So we just did the row, now we're doing the press. Crossover walk. So if you think of that tandem walk, right, heel toe, crossover walk, I'm crossing over the midline. And I can do this with everyone except someone who's had a traditional hip replacement. It's contraindicated for people that have had the original hip replacement. The new anterior hip replacement, which is getting more and more common these days, that's not contraindicated. So now we have to know what kind of hip replacement people have had to know what's contraindicated. Next segment, we got a standing lat pull down. Okay, so this is alternating. So I'm pulling down with my right, and then I'm pulling down with my left. So I could do 2 sets with my right if I wanted, and then do 2 sets with my left, or I could do all right arm for a set, all left arm, and then, or I could do 1, 2. I mean, I could go back and forth, but it's not reciprocating, so it's alternating. It's right arm and then left arm. Heel toe rocks. Let's just go back here. So we did ankle sways. Heel toe rocks, a little bit harder, right? We're really trying to, we're not just swaying and keeping our foot flat. We're trying to get up on our tiptoes, and when we come back on our heels, picking those toes up off the floor, that's where we really want to feel like we're falling backwards. Side step ups with a knee raise. So quite a bit harder than side steps with a reach. These are side step ups and raising the other knee. And then we've got a side lunge. So a little bit tougher than the side steps with the reach. Then we're gonna get down on the floor. Notice, even for these clients, we're not getting up and down from the floor a whole lot because they'll be moaning and groaning and whining. Bridge marching, a little bit harder bridge. Bird dog. So now we can do the opposite arm, opposite leg. Now, let's just look at these again. So definitely tougher from level 1 to level 2. And people are always like, well, can you get from level 1 to level 2? Well, sure you can, for sure. You're not going to get from level 1 to level 2 in one workout or 1 week, right? It might take 20 level 1 workouts to gradually progress you from level 1 to level 2. And there's probably a level 1A and a level 1B and a level 1C, right? We have to make some of these a little bit harder as we go till we gradually get to a level 2 client. Does that make sense? So it's not like we just go from level 1 to level 2 next week. That's not going to happen. So now level 1 and level 2 clients, we can typically train together because any one of these exercises we can make a little bit easier or a little bit harder if we needed to. You're going to notice when we go from level 1 to level 3, it's going to be pretty tough to bridge that gap. So level 2 and level 3 clients can probably work out together, but when we start to separate the levels, they get pretty far apart. So now level 3, let me go back a couple slides and review. Level 3, we're getting to that more experienced exerciser. This is that higher independent to fit person. So we're going to be able to throw a lot more at them, right? We're going into a front back lunge. That's a pretty dynamic move. Front lunge to a back lunge. dog peeing on the bushwalk, everybody's favorite to have you demonstrate over and over, and you want to demonstrate that multiple times for us. Just kidding. So this is that hike the leg up, right? And really see how much hip mobility you've got while we're walking. Standing one arm tubing shoulder press, that could be a standing one arm dumbbell press, could be a kettlebell press, any resistance. Here we have it with a band. A single leg stand with your eyes closed. So obviously that's much harder than level 1. It was eyes open. And now we're going to get down on the floor and we're going to do a 30-second plank. Not really, I mean, these are experienced exercisers at a higher independent to fit level. We're not really going to listen to the whining about, oh, I got to get down on the floor. Like, well, yeah, sure. We're working out, you know, like it's not really going to be a consideration. Now, keep in mind, every once in a while, you're going to have clients that are totally at the level 3, totally highly functional, highly fit, but getting down on the floor because they've had a knee replacement is going to be a complaint of theirs. Now, for a 30-second plank, they can do it with a knee replacement. But there could be some clients that have issues with getting down on the floor frequently. So just keep that in mind. Standing one arm row. Karaoke, that's essentially the crossover or grapevine move, right? So you're crossing over those feet, and that can get pretty fast and power driven. And that could be something we do for 30 seconds. We might do it 4 or 5 times. Of course, you have to have a little bit of space. If your studio is really small, it's not going to be an exercise you'd use. You might just do some 2 or 3 shuffle steps, but karaoke, you typically are going to want 20 to 30 feet of space to do that. Standing one arm chest press, so just the mirror of the standing one arm row. Walk the line. So now we're walking a straight line in line, not tandem. You could make this tandem if you wanted to make it harder. Knees up, so they're marching on your tiptoes. We're going to get down on the floor again. Another plank. Notice we put a little break in there. Obviously, they're going to take some time getting back up from the floor. We'll let them get a drink. Half kneeling, so one knee's down on the floor, the other knee's up. Half kneeling, single arm pull down. High kicks on a wall. So on a wall means basically your hand is on a wall. So you have something to hold on to while you kick your leg up as high as you can. So yeah, you wouldn't have to use a wall. You could use a ballet bar or a chair or something to hold on to, but it's not so much a balance exercise as I want to see how high you can kick, right? So it's really about great big high kicks. So putting your hand on something, so we remove because if it becomes a balance exercise, you're not going to kick as high, right? So I want you to feel confident to kick high. So put your hand on a wall or a chair. And then we're going to do some cable or tubing chops, some single leg airplane. All right, you guys got to get up and do the airplane for me. Does everybody know how to do the airplane? All right, I will show you. Let's see if I can see a few more of you. Is Ann the only one with her camera turned on, or am I having trouble here? Let's see. Maybe she is. Nope, Sally's got her camera on. But Kathy's got her camera. Oh, Kathy's driving, so don't try the airplane while in your car. See, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take my headset off for just a second. So you might not be able to hear me for a second. Arms out, legs up. So you got a leg up. So your arms are the wings, and your one leg that's up is the tail. Don't try to do 2 legs. That never works well. Just doesn't happen. Now, you can tell people from the single leg airplane, bank left, bank right. When we get to level 4, we'll fly the airplane with our eyes closed. So quite a bit harder. Okay. All right. And then we finish with another plank on the floor. Now, if you wanted to, Cody and I were lazy when we wrote this. Each one of these planks could be slightly different. You know, you could do a different variation or tweak on the plank. You know, you could do plank up downs, or, you know, plank toe taps, or plank knee taps. It doesn't have to be just your standard 30-second plank. So, but that would work too. So there are different planks. Of course, you have options. So, all right, let's look at level 4. Now we're getting a little more challenging, a little higher fitness level, a little more dynamic, a little more power. Going to throw a little bit more at people. I mean, these are our fit clients, right? I mean, we could have a wide range of ages in here for sure. A back reach to a front lunge. So I'm reaching back with my arms and then exploding forward into that front lunge. A backward crossover walk on toes. I don't think we've done anything really backward other than the back lunge, front lunge in the level 3. Anything going backwards is always going to be more challenging. People don't like going backwards, especially as they get older. It just makes them feel nervous. So backward crossover walk on your tiptoes. That's hard. Try that. I mean, you don't have to try it now, but try it later. That's hard to do. Walking backward on your tiptoes is hard enough. But now you pretend you have a straight line and you have to cross over it backwards on your tiptoes. That's pretty tough. That's pretty challenging. Power squat. So we're doing that power stand, but we don't have a chair. So really the difference between power stands and power squats is we've removed the chair, right? So power squat, you're going to squat down, explode up, and we're going to add a one-arm tubing shoulder press. Now, one of the reasons I like tubing or a band for this is I don't have to worry about throwing a weight. I don't have to worry about standing up fast and having a dumbbell go fast, and then when the dumbbell gets to the top, what does it do? Well, it jerks my arm, right? If I take a 10-pound dumbbell and press that up fast after I've just exploded up from a squat, at the top of that range of motion, that 10 pounds is going to the ceiling, right? So it is going to tug and jerk my arm. Whereas if I use a resistance band, it's not doing that, right? In fact, the resistance is probably getting stronger and stronger. So as I explode into it, it's like, oh, at the very top, I can barely fully press out if I have the resistance right. You see the difference? Now, I would be okay with a medicine ball or a weighted sand bag that I could throw and toss, right? Because now I don't have to worry about this weight jerking my arm at the end, and I can really explode. Just make sure you teach them not to throw it on themselves or another client, right? So make sure you have some space when you do that. Of course, we could do a power squat to a 2-arm tubing press or a 2-handed medicine ball toss. Here we have a 1-arm resistance band, okay? Single leg stand, eyes closed. How do we make it harder from level 3? Well, we ask them intentionally to do some body leans. So I want you to stand on one foot, close your eyes and lean to the right, lean to the left, lean forward, lean back. That's pretty challenging with your eyes closed on one foot. Because what do you want to do, eyes closed on one foot? You want to try to stay balanced and upright. You don't want to be leaning to the right and leaning to the left. This time I put in 2 different planks. I got lazy on the 3rd one and repeated 30-second plank rolls. So 30-second marching plank. I don't care how fit you are. After those 5 things, you should need some water. So we'll give you 30 seconds to get a drink. We put a little break in here. You could repeat all 5 of those. So there's no correct way to do this in terms of, well, should I do 2 sets of the back reach to front lunge and then 2 sets of the crossover walk? And you can do it however you want. You can do 2 sets of everything, or you can do 1 set of everything, repeat them all, and then move on to section 2. You should be able to get through all of this with 2 sets of everything. And some things like karaoke, that doesn't really have 2 sets, right? I mean, we can just do karaoke for a minute or 2 or however long we want, right? If we want to do it, 5 times to the right, 5 times to the left. Rear lunge with a 1-arm row. So we're doing rear lunges and 1-arm rowing. So obviously here, we're going to have a lot of sets to get everything we want, right? Because I want right rear lunge with a right row. I want right rear lunge with a left row. I want left leg rear lunge with a right row, right? So I've got 4 combinations just to get that first exercise done, right? So I'm going to do rear lunges, or I could do 2 sets of rows with my right, 1 set all right leg, 1 set all left leg. You could do this a lot of different combinations, right? Karaoke, power punch with a band. So it's not just a chest press with a band, it's literally step into it, explode, and punch. I like a resistance band for that. Works really well because the resistance, of course, is typically going to grow as I go farther. Now, if I use a cable column machine, the resistance will just be constant. A band, obviously, it's going to get heavier and heavier and heavier the farther I get away, right, as the band stretches more. Ladder drills, all sorts of agility ladder drills. I showed you guys a bunch of those last week. I think I have a few more here. 30-second plank rolls. Kneeling, so we're on both knees. Might need a pad or a foam pad for that to just help people's knees feel comfortable. I don't like kneeling on both knees because I've had 2 knee surgeries on my left. If I'm on a foam pad, though, I'm okay. If you put me on a mat or something, don't put me down on a hard floor, though, on both knees. I'll get cranky, too. So crane kicks. So high kicks on a wall. Now we're doing high kicks hands-free. If we can, we're going to do that crane kick like in Karate Kid, where we're jumping from one foot to the other, right? So I've got one foot up, just like a crane does, right? I'm kicking up to that other foot. So it's a dynamic, powerful move, right? I've got one foot down, one foot up, boom, I'm going to kick and switch feet, okay? Now, not everybody can do that. Some people don't have the knees or hips to do it, or they do need something to hold on to, or they need to go back and do the high kicks on the wall because they just can't do it, right? Single leg airplane. This one's supposed to say eyes closed. Hannah, not familiar with airplane. I think I showed you as best I could on here. So again, it's arms out. Now, single leg airplane, we could do both legs on the floor and not have the tail of the airplane and just work on tilts, right? We might do that with a level 1 or 2 client, but really we want to get to the single leg stance. So marching plank, just as it sounds, your knees are marching. I don't really think of the marching plank as knee taps. That would be your knee tapping to the floor. So marching plank is basically your knees are moving. So one foot's going to stay down, the other one, your knee is moving. So it's almost like a mountain climber, except we're not going fast. So you're holding the plank and you're just marching one knee. And it doesn't have to be a big movement because some people, especially if you're on your forearms, you're not going to be able to get your knee past the ground, right? So it's really just picking a foot up and moving your knee a little bit. So it creates a little bit of movement, a little more instability because we're only on one foot, okay? Plank rolls, you're going from the plank position to your side, plank position to your other side, you're rolling back and forth. Can you show back reach to front lunge, please? Sure, here we go. So basically, you know what a front lunge is, but instead of just going here and lunging forward, right, I'm going to load up as if I'm going to explode or jump into that lunge. So I'm reaching back, right? So I've changed kind of my center of gravity, reaching back, and then front lunging. That's it. So it kind of sets us up for doing a jumping movement or a more powerful movement because we're working on loading up and jumping forward. Of course, we're not really jumping, we're just lunging forward. Okay, I think that's all the questions we got so far. Let's keep going. We're doing pretty good on time. So, I've shown you guys this slide before too. Remember, you got to keep thinking about different strategies, ways you can get better in these different areas. So just to go through kind of the balance stuff again, these are all great. I mentioned the ladder drills in one of those. These are all great ladder drill activities, the marching and the walking, but you don't have to have an agility ladder. I think they're really useful tools. I really like the agility ladders that are fabric based, so people aren't tripping or you know, grabbing like a metal rod or plastic rod. Some of them are rod based and they're really easy to trip over. So if you're going to use an agility ladder, make sure it's one people aren't going to be tripping over. You can also, I've seen agility ladders that are like mats. You can roll them out and they're like gym floor. So some of the hotels I've done workshops in, the carpet has great patterns in it. So I mean, if your studio or facility you train in has great carpet patterns, you can use that stuff too. So lots of different gait exercises you can be doing. I went over some of these with you last week, and again, balance stations, lots of different exercises here we can do. So I want you to think about, when you're thinking about, well, how do I design a workout? How do you do it and throw in 5 or 6 minutes of balance? Well, here's a simple way, right? I mean, you just map out, you know, 30 seconds of this and 30 seconds of that, and 60 seconds of this, 15 seconds of this, 15 seconds of that. And all of a sudden you have 5, 6 minutes of a balance segment. Sometimes if it's not terribly intense, that could be your whole warm up. Sometimes it could be your whole cool down, right? I mean, it can fit in different places. Strength stations, we went over some of these last week as well. So lots of different ideas and ways we can start mixing into our workouts. And of course, all of these we always need to be thinking about. So like walking lunges, dumbbell in your right hand. Well, if that's too hard, then just make it a stationary lunge, right? I mean, if you can't master a walking lunge with no dumbbells in your hand, we're certainly not going to give you walking lunges with dumbbells in your hand. Doesn't make sense. It's like, well, let's see. Ann couldn't do walking lunges last week. Let's try walking lunges with dumbbells in one hand. Maybe she'll like, no, we got to master that first. And typically for most people, walking lunges with a dumbbell in just one hand is harder than both hands, right? Because now I just have one weight on one side. It's like, wait a minute, you threw me off balance. But it's really important to do that stuff because that's what we do in life, right? I mean, it's rare that we bring the groceries in equally in both hands. Or if we do, what happens, we get to the door and we're like, oh, I got to put half of them down and now I'm off balance and I'm trying to open the door and I got some on my hip, and right. I mean, we don't do stuff like we do it in the gym. Well, I got to have, wait a minute, this grocery bag feels like it's 7 pounds. This one feels like it's 12. Like, I mean, we don't get exactly symmetric. So we want to always be throwing people off balance, counterbalance, those sorts of things too. So if you see a lot of single arm stuff, that's why. So let's look at the bent over one arm dumbbell row to tricep kickback. Well, that's pretty complex, right? They have to be able to hold the bent over position for starters. So we probably have to master bent over dumbbell rows before we ever add the tricep kickback. We can't start stacking exercises. So if they can't do the bent over one arm dumbbell row, we're not going to throw in the tricep kickback. And we probably would teach them the tricep kickback separately before we try putting these together, right? Because if we try to teach them a dumbbell row to a tricep kickback, they're both going to fall apart. We're not going to get a good dumbbell row and we're not going to get a good tricep kickback. We're going to wind up with this whole arm swing looking thing and we're not going to get either. So just realize these are progressed exercises, obviously, and we can always regress them. I think I showed you guys this last time, didn't I? Has everybody seen this? We can always watch it again, but pretty cool stuff. Hold on, I don't know if I shared the sound last time, so it is fun to watch him do this. You guys should be able to hear it this time. Can you hear it now? Now, he's 83, nailing this thing, but obviously we wouldn't start there, right? Like, we're not gonna be like, hey, let's see if you can jump on a 30-inch box. I mean, we'd probably start with some step ups. We'd probably start with seeing if he can jump onto a 8 or 12-inch box, and he might quickly master it and move up, but we're probably not gonna start here with most of our 83-year-old clients. So it's a progression. All right, any questions at all? We are about done. We're almost out of time. This is always a common question I get when people are thinking about progressions and regressions. And one of the simplest progressions and regressions is sets, reps, and time intervals, right? So we can always do more sets. We can take an exercise from 1 set to 2 sets. We can add more reps, 10 reps versus 15 reps. Time intervals, which can be how long we do it for versus how long we rest, right? We might do an exercise for 45 seconds with a more advanced client, only 30 seconds with a beginner client. We might have exercises where we do it for 30 seconds and rest for 30 seconds, right? So even the pace and the rest period, right? How much rest was I giving the level 1 client? In fact, I was thinking intently about the level 1 client's going to need a lot of rest or they're not going to make it to the finish line. Whereas the level 4 client, suck it up, let's go. Probably not worried so much about rest. You can rest later. But sometimes we make a mistake with that. If you're really fit, you can work out really, really hard, but you still need rest. You can't run a 100-meter dash 10 times in a row. You have to have rest in between, right? So if I ask you to do 25 jumping jacks, you're going to need a rest period. If I ask you to do 25 jump squats or 25 power stands with an overhead press, you're going to be like, okay, I got to catch my breath for 10 or 15 seconds. I don't care how fit you are. We still have to have rest periods. We can't do 30 minutes nonstop, no rest, right? I can't run a 100-meter dash for 30 minutes. It's not possible, right? So we have to think about rest periods regardless of fitness level, and it's different, right? I mean, the rest periods are shorter the fitter you are, and then they're longer the harder the task you do, right? I mean, if I ask you to do something really, really intense for 20 seconds, you might need 40 seconds to catch your breath. Volume, it's going to be more volume the fitter the client gets. Level 1 client, man, I'm happy if they can give me 12 to 14 minutes of work in 30 minutes. I'm happy with that. Level 3 and 4 clients, I probably want 18 to 20 minutes of work in 30 minutes. Because I know they're going to have some rest. They're going to have some, they got to catch their breath in between exercises. There's setup, there's change position, all that stuff. Complexity, of course, gets more complex as you move up levels. And I have to reduce the complexity if somebody can't master the skill. I can't do a lunge with a arm curl overhead press if somebody can't master a lunge. I can't do a arm curl to overhead press if somebody can't master an arm curl, right? I mean, the complexity has to match. They have to be able to master each piece, okay? Partner drills and group work. There's so many different games and things we can do in groups and activities, and you can't do some of those things in one-on-one, right? You can't play some of these different games and do different group activities training one-on-one. So just keep that in mind. All right, I think that's all I've got for you today. Yep, that is it. Has everybody gotten this book? If you haven't gotten this book, please do. FASmarketingbook.com. You get the PDF or the ebook for free. You go to FASmarketingbook.com. I will show you guys that. Now is your time to type in questions. I'm going to pull up that site just in case you have not gotten that book yet. I'd love for you to grab it. Hold on, let me share my screen here. Okay. GetBoomerClients.com. You can actually get the book. I will ship it to you. I am going to charge you for shipping. Okay, so if you go to GetBoomerClients.com, you can actually get this book I'm holding. It is 64 pages. You can read it in an afternoon.
Can you put that into the chat? I'm driving, so I can't write it down. Thanks.
Will do. It's just getboomerclients.com, but I will put it in the chat.
My memory won't remember. You know, I'm in the aging course here, so.
Getboomerclients.com. Now, that's the physical book if you want to pay for shipping. So you have to fill out a little bit of information, pay for shipping. If you want the free ebook and you want that right away, you go to FASmarketingbook.com. I'll put that in the chat as well. You enter your name and email, just like here's my name and email. Yes, I'd like my free book now. Submitting. It's going to take you to another page, say complete order. You don't have to buy the sales training video. You can if you want. Happy to take your 27 bucks, but you don't need to do that. You can just say, no thanks, I don't need this now. And once you say no thanks, boom, you're going to get the ebook. Okay. So I have to show you this because I've had people go, it's not free. It's asking me to pay $27. It's only asking you that. That's called an order bump. You're adding to your order, bumping up your order $27. You don't have to do that. Just grab the free ebook. If you do this version, the getboomerclients.com, and you pay $8, it's $7.97, I think, shipping, and you pay to have the book shipped to you, you're going to get the same ebook emailed to you really quickly. So don't panic. I've had people do this too. What do? And they email us within 12 minutes. They're like, I just paid $7 to get the book and you sent me an ebook. I want the book. Like, yeah, we give you the ebook right away. You know why? Because in 2 or 3 days, you're going to be like, has my book shipped? Has my book shipped? Yes, it's shipped. I have no idea if it's shipped. The warehouse ships it in a day or two. You'll get it in about a week. So you can email me 5 times and ask, when's my book coming? I don't know. It goes out of the warehouse about a day after you order it, assuming it's not a weekend. So let me put this in the chat as well. So obviously, if we were doing this live workshop together, I would give you this book. We always give this out to workshop attendees, but can't do that since I'm not in the same room with you. But we wrote this book to help you. So what works for us, why there's a ton of money in boomer fitness, the secret to marketing to boomers, what's holding you back, how to identify your ideal clients, how to get clients fast, selling boomers on fitness. Let's see what the last couple chapters are. Yeah. Last one, what impact will you have? So a lot of simple tips of how we've run our studio here the last 13 years. I probably need to come out with a whole new chapter on COVID and how to keep your business afloat during a global pandemic. But hopefully that will end soon. Any other questions? If not, we're going to be done early today.
Mind if I just speak up instead of typing?
Go for it.
What I'm finding is interesting, and I appreciate all of your online virtual meetings the last few weeks. I like it. It helps me feel back reconnected to the community of learning and training, because I'm feeling isolated because I'm just working with clients,
Yeah,
one-on-one.
I hear you.
Mostly maybe in their backyard, but now it's all Zoom because I'm in New Jersey and it's getting cold. But also one thing that I'm thinking about is that I've actually gained a good amount of private clients during this. Surprised me, surprise, right? But now I'm thinking, well, what happens when COVID goes? Are they going to all retreat back to their gyms, and am I going to lose them? So I'm not going to, panic, but it is in my mind about that. And so, of course, yes, keep marketing. Yes, keep talking. Yes, keep asking for referrals. But there's a possibility that we're going to lose people when they travel back to their gym and save that, $500 a month.
Sure.
Otherwise, just going to
yeah, sure. I mean, I would say it's going to be both, Kim. You're going to have some people who they can't wait to go back to the gym, but they're going to be like, man, but I was really getting good results with Kim. So they might do both. You're going to have some who are just like, I'm going back to the gym. That was great, Kim. Thanks for, help me survive COVID. And then there might be some who are like, heck no, I'm not going back to the gym. That place was filthy before and it's still filthy, So, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of everything. And I think what I have learned, and I think what so many other people have learned, is online fitness is not the same. There's a huge need for it. There's a huge need for online coaching. I mean, you guys are being coached right now by me. It's filling a huge gap. I mean, how would you have gotten this education if we weren't all willing to do online education? If I wasn't willing to teach online, there are some people who are like, heck no, I'm not teaching anything online. I'll wait till the next conference opens up. And they said that to me for several months. I said, well, what if there aren't any conferences this year? And of course, they thought I was crazy, right? They're like, oh, I'll do the conferences in the fall. I'm like, okay, what if there aren't any? So, and of course, come September, they're like, all right, I guess I'll do this virtual teaching thing. So we've realized there are clients out there who may have never set foot in a gym, but now that they found you as an online health coach, trainer, personal trainer, whatever you want to call yourself, they've jumped in. Right. And then there are other people who were gym rats, and they will always be gym rats, and they may or may not keep adding you, or they might just go back to the gym. Right. And then I think there's going to be that category of people in between who are like, you know what? I haven't been to the gym in like 8 months and I'm fitter than I've ever been. Why would I go back to the gym? So there's going to be a whole spectrum, and I don't think gyms are going to go away. People still want to go places to work out. There's still equipment that they like using. They like the atmosphere. I mean, it's sort of like telling people you're never going to go back to a restaurant. Well, some people are absolutely going to go back to a restaurant. You know, we experienced this at my studio when we reopened at the end of May. We had clients who were like, we will show up whenever you open. We don't care how dangerous it is. And I categorize them as, I will wade through a swamp of COVID to get to you to train, right? And then we had other clients who were like, I think I'm going to wait the first couple of weeks and see how many people die first, right? They're sort of that, I don't know, maybe it's too dangerous. Or I just don't want to be the first one to step out of quarantine, right? And then we had a category of people, and there's probably 3 more categories, but we had a category of people who were like, I'm not going anywhere or coming back till there's a vaccine. And that was back in May. And I was like, okay, if you're in the vaccine category, I can pretty much check you off my box for probably a year. At that point, I was thinking longer, right? So, and I think the other interesting thing is we're going to see people's behaviors have changed, right? I mean, my wife has not been in a restaurant since March. We've eaten outdoors at a couple of restaurants since March, but I don't think she's set foot in a restaurant since March. Her behavior has changed. And now she may be changed forever. I don't know if I'm ever going to get her back in a restaurant, right? I mean, it's like, what's it going to take? Same thing with fitness and gyms and trainers. There has been behavior that has changed as consumers, which is going to be really interesting. So I don't think we can just say, oh, when gyms reopen, everybody's going to just go back to the gym. I don't know that that's going to happen. So Kim, you'll continue to serve a need in a variety of ways, would be my guess. And I think trainers have realized, like, I have to be able to train people in their homes. I got to be able to train people at my studio. I got to be able to train people outdoors. I got to be able to train people online. And I have to be versatile. And some trainers are better at online training than others. Some love it. Some realize it's an opportunity to grow their clientele from all over the world. There's no limits. I mean, just about anybody can train with you if you're willing to do it virtual, right? So that's kind of cool.
Right, absolutely.
All right, Lisa, Miriam, Sally, Geneva, you're all welcome. I don't see any other questions. Anybody else have any other questions or things they want to talk about in front of a group online?
Yeah, what's your wife making for dinner tonight? And do you help?
Oh, it's a great question. Yes, I know what's on the menu, and I'm quite excited because I'm fasting all day today till dinner. I'm not eating today. She is making Cobb salad with roasted chicken and bacon, and yes, I will help. I'm typically home early, actually, so I'm pretty much expected and required to help. So
yes, things have changed, haven't they?
Yeah, it's interesting. She does all the grocery ordering via online, and then I'm the one that's tagged with getting whatever doesn't come that way, right? Like, oh, you got to pick up an avocado for tonight. I don't think she's set foot in a grocery store. We have pretty much said, since I'm the one going out to work, she works from home, though she's a photographer and she's had to do a fair amount of photography shoots, but they're all outdoors, thank goodness. So, which she appreciates. So she primarily works from home. So she's like, I'm really limiting my exposure, so she doesn't even set foot in a grocery store these days. So I've been doing that. So one of the ways I help is just buying the ingredients she's missing, but no, I do help. So
awesome.
Any other questions? I actually like to cook, so I think I might like to cook a little more than my wife, though she's definitely a better cook. So
well, you can always post recipes. I'm getting bored.
I hear you. She actually, it's been helpful. We go through spurts of where she will map out what we're eating for a month, right? Like she'll create a Google Doc, share it with me, and you know, she'll order all the ingredients for a week or two ahead. And then every once in a while she'll be like, hey, I need this unique thing I can't get. Or we're out of, you know, we have 3 kids in the house. So they'll of course eat the wrong thing the day before, you know, it's like, hey, who ate all the whatever? But so she'll create, and she has lately been binging on Barefoot Contessa, so that's been a huge benefit to me. So if you're not familiar with Barefoot Contessa, there's all kinds of great recipes there. So
Yeah.
so she'll create a Google Doc of what we're having for dinner for the next 14 days, you know, and then I can.
Yeah, maybe maybe she'd like to hire herself out.
Yeah, yeah.
Get things going over here.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. And yeah, thank you. I'm working at the gym again since May, but I did some online before we reopened. Cool, great. Where are you located, Ann? What gym? You can unmute if you want to talk. Or you can type, either way.
That's probably faster. I'm in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, great.
And it's a small independent gym. I think right now we have just one location.
Okay. Cool.
They dumped a senior fitness class on me. Like you're doing this.
Here you go.
And I didn't have it before.
Yeah.
I do have a specialization through ACE for senior fitness, but you know, this isn't something I just had.
Right.
And it's going to be virtual.
So are you an Ohio State fan?
I don't partake in football at all.
Okay, good.
Yes, I have three grads.
Okay, all right.
3 kids.
Well, I'm in West Lafayette, so I'm a Purdue Boilermaker, so you know.
Okay.
But I have been to Columbus. Boy, it's been a lot of years now. Midwest ACSM was in Columbus when I was in grad school at Purdue. So this is back like 2004 or 5. And Ohio State was a great campus, and we got to tour the facilities, and we had our meeting, I think, on campus. It was pretty cool. So I've been to Columbus before. It's been a while though. So you're not too far, for 3-4 hours, 4 hours probably.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Well, you guys have a great day. I will, I think I see you back again on Friday. Got my calendar right.
Okay.
We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Bye.